the landscape of modern creativity is undergoing an unprecedented and silent transformation, a digital shift that is quietly reshaping the very foundation of how human beings express their deepest emotions, stories, and cultural identities. For decades, the global music industry has stood as a beacon of human ingenuity, a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem powered by the raw vulnerability of vocalists, the intricate precision of producers, and the soulful poetry of lyricists who spend lifetimes mastering their craft. Every melody that has ever defined a generation or served as the soundtrack to personal milestones was born from a uniquely human experience, forged in the fires of love, heartbreak, triumph, and systemic struggle. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of stadium tours and streaming milestones, a profound existential anxiety has begun to grip the creative community. As advanced software capable of synthesizing human expression leaves the realm of science fiction and enters our daily reality. This technical revolution promises to democratize art, making music creation accessible to anyone with an internet connection, but it also poses fundamental questions about the value of human labor, ownership, and the sanctity of artistic genius. As algorithmic models grow exponentially more sophisticated, trained on vast catalogs of recorded history, the boundary between authentic human creation and synthetic mimicry is blurring at a terrifying pace. This silent digital encroachment has left many creators feeling increasingly vulnerable, watching from the sidelines as corporate entities decode the intangible magic of rhythm and blues, hip-hop, and pop music into predictable patterns of ones and zeros. It is a quiet storm that has been brewing in the tech capitals of the world, but it was only a matter of time before this technological push collided head-on with the fierce protective instincts of the world's most prominent cultural innovators. Before we dive into the heart of this dramatic confrontation and explore how the future of your favorite music is being decided right now behind closed doors, take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the stories shaping global culture. The tension between Silicon Valley innovators and the artistic vanguard has finally reached a spectacular boiling point over the course of a single, explosive weekend, sending shockwaves through the entertainment industry and drawing a definitive line in the sand. At the center of this brewing storm is a fundamental disagreement about what it means to create, who owns the cultural output of a community, and whether the legal framework of the modern world is equipped to protect human beings from being replaced by the very tools they inspired. For generations, artistic movements have been the primary vehicle for marginalized communities to claim their agency, project their voices globally, and build economic independence out of pure creative vision. Now, as massive databases process millions of hours of copyrighted material to teach algorithms how to feel, write, and sing, a collective sense of urgency is rising among the elite creators who refuse to watch their life's work be synthesized without a fight. The unfolding drama is not merely a dispute over royalties or contract clauses. It is a battle for the soul of contemporary music, pitting the relentless march of technological optimization against the fierce, unyielding pride of human artistry. This weekend, the abstract debate became intensely personal, transformed into a fierce public reckoning by one of the most celebrated and influential voices in modern music, who chose to shatter the industry's cautious silence with a series of raw, unvarnished statements that have permanently altered the conversation surrounding artificial intelligence. The atmosphere within the creative community has grown thick with suspicion, as whispers circulate about which major players, executives, and legacy institutions might be quietly collaborating with technology firms behind the scenes, trading long-term artistic security for short-term financial windfalls. For many independent artists and legacy icons alike, the realization that their vocal inflections, harmonic structures, and lyrical patterns are being systematically analyzed by corporate entities has evoked a deep sense of violation and betrayal. This collective anxiety found its ultimate catalyst when a multi-Grammy-winning powerhouse, known globally for redefining the boundaries of contemporary rhythm and blues, discovered the staggering scale at which her own catalog had allegedly been utilized to train the next generation of synthetic music generators. The sheer scale of the discovery left the industry reeling, forcing a public confrontation that many executives had hoped to avoid or delay through careful corporate messaging and vague public relations statements. As the details of this digital exploitation began to surface on social media, it became clear that this was no longer a theoretical ethical dilemma discussed in academic panels, but an immediate, high-stakes conflict affecting the livelihoods, legacies, and cultural capital of the world's brightest minds. The outrage that erupted over the weekend was not an isolated incident of artistic temper, but rather the manifestation of a deep-seated frustration with a legal and legislative system that has consistently failed to keep pace with the blinding speed of technological development, leaving creative innovators uniquely exposed to systemic exploitation. As the public watches this unprecedented clash unfold between an iconic cultural figure and a cutting-edge artificial intelligence platform backed by industry insiders, the stakes could not possibly be higher for the future of global entertainment. What began as a series of private, agonizing realizations has now spilled over into a full-blown cultural war, raising critical questions about copyright, cultural appropriation, and the hidden mechanics of the digital platforms that seek to replicate human genius. This initial wave of public defiance has set the stage for a massive, multi-sided confrontation that promises to involve top-tier producers, legal scholars, tech executives, and legendary disc jockeys, all scrambling to define their positions as the traditional structures of the music business threaten to fracture under the weight of this synthetic revolution. The unfolding narrative serves as a stark reminder that behind every algorithm lies a vast ocean of human effort, and the individuals who poured their souls into creating that foundational data are no longer willing to remain silent partners in their own potential obsolescence. The explosive controversy that shook the foundations of the music world over the weekend reached a critical flashpoint when SZA, the celebrated 7-time Grammy winner, took to social media to unleash a scathing and deeply emotional critique against the tech companies developing artificial intelligence music generators. The 36-year-old musical icon, revered globally for her raw vulnerability and era-defining songwriting, expressed absolute shock and profound violation upon discovering that an astonishing 238 of her songs had allegedly been used as direct training tools to develop complex AI music models. Choosing to air her grievances on her private Instagram account under the handle @NotMusicItalicsware, the St. Louis native did not mince words as she pulled back the curtain on what she views as a systematic and predatory exploitation of human artistry. SZA targeted her outrage directly at Suno, a cutting-edge artificial intelligence music generation company that has recently garnered significant attention and controversy within the entertainment industry. The weight of her accusation carried a distinct sting because Suno is not a completely isolated tech startup working in a vacuum. Rather, it is a company that boasts deep ties to the music elite, with famed electronic music producer and global DJ Diplo owning a significant piece of the venture. SZA pointedly highlighted this connection, revealing her deep sense of betrayal that industry colleagues who have built their own massive fortunes and legacies on human-produced music would be actively complicit in funding and refining a technology designed to analyze, deconstruct, and ultimately replicate the intangible aspects of human genius. Her statements instantly went viral, cutting through the typical corporate public relations noise and laying bare a raw, unfiltered perspective on the existential threat currently facing modern music creators. The core of SZA's fury lies in the profound intersection of technological exploitation and cultural appropriation, an ongoing historical dynamic that she argues is being repeated in the digital age through the mechanics of machine learning. In one of her most poignant and heavily shared posts, the singer emphasized the immense global impact of Black creators, stating that African Americans make up just 13% of the United States population, yet fundamentally influence the entire world with their distinct sound, unique perspective, and creative innovation. She expressed deep frustration that this immense cultural capital is being systematically harvested by corporate entities to train algorithms, while the human creators themselves are left completely unprotected by contemporary legal frameworks. SZA explicitly pointed out that there is a severe lack of protection in current legislation, whether in the medical field or the creative arts, making artists the easiest and most vulnerable targets from whom to steal intellectual property. Her commentary took on an even sharper edge when she noted a glaring discrepancy in the current output of these artificial intelligence generators, declaring in all capital letters that she has yet to hear a single white AI song, implying that tech companies are disproportionately targeting and mining the highly influential catalogs of Black writers and producers to give their synthetic models an authentic, bankable human flavor. The rhetoric escalated rapidly as SZA urged her peers and followers to fiercely protect their creative identities, using a powerful cinematic metaphor by demanding that artists do not give away their vibranium and warning them under no circumstances to train artificial intelligence with their hard-earned genius. The Saint Lewis Native admitted she was completely floored that other established musicians and producers would choose to support what she labeled as degenerate behavior, openly calling those involved in the collaborative training process disgusting. Her public stance signaled an absolute refusal to compromise or accept any financial justification for the integration of AI into the core songwriting process, as she firmly stated that there is absolutely nothing anyone could ever say to her to make this situation okay, before closing her remarks with a chilling wish that those complicit in the technology receive exactly the life they deserve. The All the Stars performer made it clear that she welcomes the impending conflict, adopting a warrior mindset for the upcoming months by stating that she wants smoke all summer against the entities she described as weird vultures seeking to feed off human inspiration. This public evisceration caught the industry completely off guard, creating an immediate public relations crisis for Suno and forcing its executive leadership to defend the platform's integrity. The fierce barrage of statements from SZA came shortly after Jack Brody, the chief product officer at Suno, had attempted to preemptively calm the waters by posting an extensive, highly structured statement on LinkedIn aimed directly at reassuring a deeply skeptical creative community, addressing the widespread anxiety surrounding the company's recently announced music model, which Suno claims was developed in direct partnership with certain sectors of the music industry. Brody sought to clarify how the tech firm views platform integrity and the protection of human creators. Brody insisted that for the team building Suno, preserving genuine artistry and human creativity is just as critical a priority as product innovation itself. He acknowledged that it is incredibly easy for artists to be deeply skeptical of these claims, especially if they have not yet fully immersed themselves in the product or understood its underlying mechanics. But he countered by emphasizing that the vast majority of the people actually building the Suno platform are musicians themselves who care deeply about the art form. In his detailed defense, Brody outlined the safety protocols that Suno has strived to embed directly into the very foundation of its technological architecture, arguing that companies building advanced artificial intelligence models have a strict ethical and operational responsibility to invest in safeguards with the exact same level of ambition, budget, and engineering rigor that they bring to building the commercial products themselves. He explained that Suno enforces clear, non-negotiable rules that strictly prohibit users from uploading or distributing any content that they do not explicitly own or have the legal rights to use, backed by meaningful and swift enforcement mechanisms when those terms of service are violated. Furthermore, Brody highlighted Suno's ongoing collaborations with industry-standard security and verification providers, which are designed to help the platform actively identify, track, and prevent any potential misuse of copyrighted material. Attempting to tackle the single biggest fear haunting the creative community, Brody explicitly addressed the recurring question of whether these advanced AI musical models can reproduce or plagiarize direct material from their training data, offering a definitive answer of no, asserting that such direct replication should not happen under any circumstances. He maintained that Suno's core corporate philosophy has always been centered on the idea that artificial intelligence should function purely as a collaborative tool to help human beings create brand new, original music, rather than acting as a mechanism to replicate or replace someone else's established style. To support this claim, the chief product officer revealed that Suno made an intentional, foundational choice during the development phase not to teach its models the names of specific artists, explaining that the ultimate goal is to foster the generation of completely novel songs rather than churning out derivative tracks that sound identical to existing human performers. In addition to these structural limits, Brody stated that the company is actively developing and testing a suite of advanced secondary approaches to ensure security, including sophisticated audio fingerprinting, invisible watermarking, and robust systems for detection of spam and artificial impersonation. He concluded his public defense by assuring the public that Suno remains in constant, active dialogue with a wide array of artists, songwriters, producers, record labels, music distributors, and institutional partners across the entire entertainment landscape, promising that these intense conversations will continue to directly shape the technological safeguards and financial investments the company makes moving forward. However, this corporate reassurance stood in stark, irreconcilable contrast to the raw reality of SZA's accusations, creating a tense standoff that has left fans, executives, and legal experts completely divided. The escalating war of words has illuminated a massive systemic communication gap between the tech visionaries who see AI as an inevitable and benign evolution of creative tools, and the actual human artists who view the unconsented mining of their life's work as a catastrophic form of digital piracy. As the Daily Mail and other major global news outlets actively reach out to representatives for both SZA and Suno for further official comments, the entire music industry is holding its breath, waiting to see if this public clash will spark a massive wave of litigation or force a fundamental rewrite of intellectual property laws for the digital age. This escalating battle between one of the most prolific singers of the modern era and a heavily backed tech startup highlights a critical turning point that could redefine the nature of creative ownership for generations to come. To truly understand why SZA's stance has struck such a powerful chord across the global entertainment landscape, one must look at the remarkable journey of the artist-born Solana Imani Rowe. Raised in St. Louis and later New Jersey, her path to becoming a 7-time Grammy winner was paved with intense personal vulnerability, an unconventional approach to melody, and an uncompromising commitment to authentic human storytelling. When she burst into the mainstream with her landmark debut album Control, and later solidified her status as a generational titan with her sophomore masterpiece SOS, she did so by exposing her deepest insecurities, complicated relationships, and emotional struggles. Her music became a lifeline for millions of listeners precisely because it felt entirely human, unpolished, and intensely real. The idea that this deeply personal body of work, created through years of emotional labor and artistic trial, could be scraped by an algorithm and broken down into mathematical probabilities is what transforms this technical debate into a deeply emotional struggle. SZA's music is not just a commercial product, it is a sonic diary of a Black woman navigating the complexities of modern life. And her fierce resistance to having that diary weaponized to train its own synthetic replacement reflects a broader collective exhaustion among creators who feel their humanity is being systematically erased. This clash is not happening in an isolated aesthetic vacuum, but against the backdrop of a long and painful history of exploitation within the music industry itself. For nearly a century, musical innovators, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds, have fought grueling uphill battles to secure the rights to their own master recordings, publishing catalogs, and creative likenesses. From the early days of blues and rock and roll to the global dominance of hip-hop and contemporary rhythm and blues, the creators who shaped global pop culture have frequently seen the financial rewards of their genius diverted to corporate executives, distributors, and technical gatekeepers. In the digital age, streaming platforms promised a democratization of the industry, but instead left many mid-tier and independent artists struggling to survive on fractions of a cent per play, while major corporations consolidated their power. The introduction of generative artificial intelligence represents the latest and potentially most dangerous chapter in this ongoing saga, raising the terrifying prospect that tech companies could completely bypass the human creator altogether. Using an artist's own historical catalog to generate infinite, royalty-free variations of their unique style. When SZA fiercely labels those participating in this process as vultures, she is directly tapping into this historical trauma, reminding the world that the commodification of art without the consent or fair compensation of the artist is a recurring systemic injustice that is simply adopting a more sophisticated, algorithmic guise. The legal and legislative battlegrounds surrounding this issue are equally complex and fraught with uncertainty, as modern copyright laws were never designed to anticipate machines capable of learning, mimicking, and synthesizing human creative output. Tech companies like Suno often argue that training AI models on copyrighted data constitutes fair use, drawing an analogy to a human musician listening to radio stations, gathering inspiration from their favorite influences, and using those internalized styles to compose a brand new song. They maintain that because the algorithm does not directly copy or paste the original audio files into the final generated output, it is creating entirely original intellectual property. However, SZA and her legal allies vehemently reject this comparison, pointing out that a human being spends a lifetime developing taste, emotional depth, and manual dexterity, whereas an advanced machine learning model can ingest, deconstruct, and replicate hundreds of thousands of songs in a matter of hours, operating at a commercial scale that threatens to completely cannibalize the market for living musicians. The current lack of robust federal legislation protecting an artist's unique vocal timbre, stylistic identity, and creative imprint has left a dangerous regulatory vacuum. allowing tech developers to build highly profitable platforms on the backs of uncompensated human labor, while politicians and judges slowly scramble to understand the underlying technology. The ramifications of this specific confrontation extend far beyond SZA, Suno, or DJ Diplo, threatening to reshape the economic foundation of global culture. If generative artificial intelligence platforms are allowed to freely train on legacy catalogs without explicit permission or substantial financial licensing agreements, the traditional incentive structure for making music could completely collapse. Future generations of aspiring writers, producers, and vocalists may find it economically impossible to pursue a creative career, knowing they are competing against instantly generated synthetic tracks that can mimic any genre or mood at zero cost. Moreover, this technological shift threatens to dilute the cultural authenticity that has always driven musical evolution. Music has always been an interactive dialogue between communities, an evolving reflection of societal shifts, political movements, and human experiences that cannot be truly replicated by a line of code, no matter how sophisticated its predictive capabilities become. By standing up so publicly and aggressively against the corporate normalization of AI music generation, SZA has positioned herself as a shield for the entire creative ecosystem, challenging her peers to prioritize long-term artistic survival over short-term corporate sponsorships or convenient technological trends. The summer ahead promises to be an intensely litigious and transformative period for the entertainment industry, as this public war of words inevitably transitions into corporate boardrooms, legislative chambers, and federal courts. Major record labels, which initially expressed immense alarm over AI piracy, are now caught in a delicate balancing act, attempting to protect their massive intellectual property assets while simultaneously exploring lucrative partnerships with tech firms to monetize synthetic content. Artists themselves are increasingly being forced to choose a side,